What is up with it? Welcome after quite a long time to Melee on Me. It is my pleasure to bring to you our hosts, Toph BBQ, Pterodactyls, aka Sheridan, aka Dr. Z, and Juggle Guy, the man himself. I'm Bobby Scar. Welcome after years and years. Melee it on me. My goodness, what are we doing here, Rob?
I have waited a long time to hear you say those words again. It sounds pretty good.
Melee it on
really
me.
does.
Yes,
Yeah.
dude.
It's got a certain ring to it. Cheers to you all. Thank you for joining
It
us.
does.
I just opened up a beer, which I'm going to enjoy in Scar Toph Show fashion.
Mm.
I haven't had a beer in a couple months, if I'm being real.
Oh, really?
I'm enjoying this. Yes.
Dude, you know what they say? It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I love that phrase. I got a coffee. I'm still in coffee mode.
Absolutely.
And I can find a time where there's no time zone that has a 5 o'clock.
Ooh,
What about
that's a
what
Sheridan
about-
question.
What about Nintendo time zone? I don't know if you guys watched Moist Critical's video, but he had a hilarious 30-second bit on that.
Explain it. Explain Nintendo time zone.
So the Age of Calamity or whatever that game was that came out, right? And some people were getting shutdown notices from Nintendo because they were in a time zone where it came out earlier, and Nintendo did not realize that time zones existed. So they just sent these people hey, stop playing our game. You must be acquiring it illegally.
I remember that. I do remember that. It's really funny, by the way. I will say, in software in general, I would say in my time, at least 50% of all bugs stem from time zones.
Whoa.
Probably.
That is wild.
I wonder who would be the first smasher or the first streamer to move to Kiribati and be always the first person in the world to be able to stream a game because that is where the earliest time in the world is, or the latest time.
This is why I had Sheridan on.
It's Dr. Z fact.
This moment is exactly why Sheridan is on.
That's
the international dateline. It does this thing, and then it takes a dip over there. Yeah, you gotta get some streamer, some content creator to move there. And just be the first on everything.
Is that the optimal place to live as a streamer? You get the jump on those streams an hour ahead of anyone, a couple hours ahead of the rest of the world.
Yeah, I don't know how the internet is though. That could be a problem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But wait. Let's talk about our main story, one of betrayal, one of friendship destroyed, one of David and Goliath, one of the Melee community and Nintendo. Okay? Mm-hmm. Where were you, Sheridan? You're the only one I haven't heard of. Where were you when you first heard that Nintendo see indeed the big house online?
Well, I haven't traveled anywhere more than 5 miles from my house in the last 6 months. So I was, I was just chilling on Discord, and I get all the notifications from Robin and all the homies, and it really surprised me. I didn't think that was the method that they were going to take to shut it down, and immediately I was just very. Just all my sympathies went to Robin, and started thinking about just the future of the community and what future tournaments we're going to have to deal with. And we convened the team as quickly as possible to try to get a discussion on it and figure out what to do.
Who is the team?
The team is we did that stream not long after Robin put out the announcement. And did we do it on Melee on Me? I think we might have.
I think so.
Yeah, just to figure out, where we were with everything. Everybody on Melee on Me, we had a few other guests join in. But, from the beginning, the team really included basically the entire Smash community. I mean, we were all pretty united in our response to this. And
that's the team.
Yeah, that's the team.
Chat.
People.
That means you guys are the team.
Chat's the team.
We're all the team.
When Sheridan says the team started talking about it, he's talking about all of us.
You're on the team. And you're on the team. That's fucking hype. Hey, the Splatoon crew is on the team.
Crazy.
I saw that happening yesterday and today, and dude, what a positive little anecdote there, right?
Not
I thought
gonna
it was
lie.
so cool. I just turned on the stream and it was like Team Melee Nation versus Team
Yeah.
Slippy, and I was like,
Yeah,
dude, that's so cool.
I felt bad for the commentators who probably said Melee more in the span of 2 hours than they had in their entire lives.
Yeah, and that prize pool is at 25,000, I think.
Oh my
and
God.
which, I mean, where does that put it in terms of like Melee all time? Like, how many Melee prize pools have even hit 25K? That'd be like,
yeah, no, LACS 2, right, was $25,001. Ludwig made a big deal to add that extra one at the end because he wanted to be in the top 10. There was some tournament he beat out. It's one of you guys is I don't know. But yeah, that's the top 10, right? I mean, that's incredible.
wow.
And you know,
Within what? 1 day, 2 days?
a day
Yeah,
of
it was like
within
12
a day
hours.
of announcement.
Dude, somebody
Most
messaged me
are-
last night saying, "Oh, we're throwing together this event. Is it okay if we call it the Squid House?" And that was like the 14 hours ago. That's when they put this together.
That's crazy.
What is this $25,000 prize pool that we're talking about for those of
Yeah,
our viewers who
so-
live under a rock?
Totally. No, because I mean, it was like, okay, so I was doing a long stream yesterday, and so I kind of caught wind of this stuff by way of people coming in my chat and every now and then, hey, did you hear this little development? Hey, you hear this little development? I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So basically Nintendo, right, shut down the broadcast of a finals of a Splatoon tournament because a bunch of the top teams put like free Melee or some iteration of that in their team name. You know, the way you could put a team name on Smash.
And that's why, my goodness.
And right, and then so the Endgame TV guys were like, "Well, we're going to put on this invitational tournament for those Splatoon teams. So fuck the Nintendo tournament. We're doing our own tournament now on the same day that it was supposed to be on." And I think it was Vish who kickstarted the donations. He said, I think Vish contributed $1,000, and that's where the
Vish.
prize pool started.
Let's
I
go,
think
Vish.
it started with Vish. And then,
Yeah, you're right.
And then everybody else just kind of blew it out of the water.
So then this is escalating?
I think
That
so.
sounds like an escalation right there.
Dude,
because like this would not have really been noticed that much if Nintendo just let it go, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, some Splatoon heads would have been like, "Yeah, we did it." You know, we stand in solidarity with the Melee community, and some Melee heads would be like, "Oh, that's cool," but this turned into like something beyond, I believe, what Nintendo had expected. So I would like to add like the Streisand effect to the list of things that Nintendo does not understand. Like, just tack that on. That's so funny to me.
I gotta look that up.
I was gonna say, can you actually just?
I know I've looked it up before.
Yeah,
I think I have to. What is the Streisand effect? I'm so sorry, Sheridan.
It's just like
Robin, you want to
more attention gets drawn to something when like a person mentions it, or you know, like
when you attempt to hide it.
When you attempt to hide, this is like this reminds me of like prohibition in alcohol. Like when you try to shut down people drinking alcohol, they just find more ways to do it and
like,
make it a bigger
now
deal.
that you mentioned that, I think I will actually do what you just told me not to do.
Right.
That kind of.
I think it originated from like Barbara Streisand wanted some article pulled or depublished or something, and that just drew even more attention to it. There's something that's where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
So let me get this straight. There's a Splatoon tournament, and the Splatoon players were attempting to protest peacefully by including some text in name fields, and for that reason, the whole tournament was ripped down.
I think so. Yeah.
No, it wasn't the tournament to start with. It was just they were going to not stream it because they had. This is a classic phrase: unexpected executional challenges.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that next time. Like a friend texts me and I can't make it or something. Unexpected executional challenges. Sorry, bro.
Sometimes you get those executional challenges, you know? They just creep up.
Next time you miss your ledge dash and you lose a step because of it, I just had unexpected executional challenges.
That's a John for the 2020s, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's crazy because, you know, this is something I kind of have been mulling over and thinking about, which is like, okay, so from Nintendo's perspective, right? this is like people talking with their wallets now, right? This is a huge prize pool where like Nintendo, you know, and they're a corporation, they have to care about money, you know, as things go in a capitalistic society. And you know, the people are speaking with their wallets now, right? Does this change anything?
We'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, I don't know if we're capable of making a dent in Nintendo's bottom line. That seems ambitious, but I think the goal, at least from my perspective, is like this all started presumably from a decision that was made by someone that was so high up that they were separated by so many degrees from the actual grassroots community that they most likely have no idea what's going on at the factory floor level, right? And maybe somehow this social media pressure can reach those higher ups and they can look into it and be like, oh, so that's what's actually going on. And then maybe that'll lead to some change down the line. We don't know.
This is the way. And to be clear, I'm not saying that 25,000 is more than a drop in the bucket when it comes to Nintendo's bottom line. But what I guess the way I'm sort of thinking about this is you've got a situation where a donation drive happens overnight and collects $25,000. So it's like a very passionate, you know, that's a sign of a very passionate community. Yeah, I mean, that's a one-time affair, but like, you know, the way I'm looking at it with from Nintendo's perspective is like Nintendo of America, they're primarily they're a product marketing, a PR, branch essentially of Nintendo, right? And if they've been generating more bad press than good press with their behavior recently, aren't they not doing their job?
Behavior. I like that word and how you used it, and the inflection you used.
Thank you.
What's the consequence of their behavior? Is it driving incremental revenue?
Right. I mean, if their day job is to generate good press for Nintendo, and they're primarily generating bad press for Nintendo, aren't they kind of fucking up at a certain point?
How's that
changes need to be made at a certain point.
Well, you know, I think we've seen that Nintendo has been willing to just tank bad PR in the past.
So, have they ever?
Yeah. You know, like with
just getting a funny visual.
Here's what. Okay, bear with me on this analogy here, especially Sheridan, the man with the physics PhD. But here's kind of how I see it. All right, Big House was this asteroid or this celestial body that was just perfectly in orbit around its home planet, and then it got nuked. It got straight up
taken
nuked.
Out.
Some person on this planet was like, I don't like that anymore. We're gonna nuke it from orbit. It's currently falling. Like the pieces are currently falling down. We're in that process right now. And a couple things could happen. We could have like an extinction level event for this whole planet. Or maybe this asteroid contains like the seeds of life for something more. Like there's little alien life just waiting for me.
Look at Sheridan's face. Look at Sheridan's face.
Yeah, exactly. This is like this.
Okay, it's like, all right, I got a couple criticisms too. You're schematic here, but
Sheridan's reaction.
About orbital mechanics, okay?
I like the metaphor, Robin. For what it's worth, but yeah, no, I hear you. It's the kind of thing where it's like, shit, maybe we just leave this alone. Maybe if there's any more little meteors, we leave those ones. Is that what you're trying to say? I think that's what you were trying to say.
Something like that, yeah.
Well, I was talking to Rob yesterday in preparation for this call, and there's one thing that keeps coming into my mind, which is basically like, I just feel like kind of surprised that we're here now. And when I say that, I mean, I feel that if the Melee community's timeline, if our history is like a manga, we've been hinting at the Nintendo arc for fucking chapters and chapters and years and years. Gimmers was talking about the Nintendo arc to come in 2012, you know? We'll always have been talking about when Nintendo is going to rear its ugly head, and that's going to be blah, blah. That's going to be the grand battle. And I just feel like, dang, we're here.
We're here. And you know who else is here, by the way? Endgame TV with the rate of 2,695.
My goodness.
Everyone coming from the Squid House. What's up, guys? Great work in such a short period of time.
For the Confront Nintendo arc. That's where we are. Is the there's no avoiding it, right? They have been confronted. The can of worms is open. Pandora's box blown up.
Wow.
But I kind of, whenever I think about that, I feel like we're underground. We're living in little tunnels. Like they can't find us. I was literally thinking yesterday. I don't know if I was like crazy or whatever, but I was just thinking about the war on drugs and how the United States government was trying to shut down drugs and they couldn't do it. The only way to deal with it is to legalize marijuana. They've got to legalize Melee eventually. They could put as much resources as they want into shutting us down, but it can never be done.
I love this analogy where
you can have free Melee on
such a great analogy.
You can have free Melee everywhere. You can never shut us down.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're going to have to go legalize.
I want to say there's another analogy in here, something about like Melee being Ronald Reagan and Nintendo being Congress and Melee being like the Nicaragua situation or something like that.
You might have to tune that one a little.
I haven't really thought through very well. This is just what I'm thinking about during quarantine, man.
Yeah,
I feel that.
Sure, all of our minds have just.
I'm so sorry to all the physics and history people that I just pissed off in the last 10 minutes.
It's true. Your heart's in the right place, man. Your heart's in the right place. Yeah, but it is wild. I feel like I will say this, right? Like the sentiment that so like I remember, when I got the call from Blur, which was what was that, 2 or 3 Tuesdays ago? I guess it would have been. Yeah, I mean, it was, the weekend. Basically, I was in SoCal. I was at Summit. And I remember my mood shift from that night when I was really like, I had a really kind of this dark premonition, like, what if this is the end? What if this is the end? And then seeing kind of the community outpour and all of the backlash that people gave Nintendo and stuff. And yeah, it's just been, I just feel like the way it's kind of been going has really been better than I could have asked for or hoped. I don't know if you guys get that same sense, Sheridan and Robin. I'm especially curious from you guys since you're the TOs. It's really you guys'
I think it hasn't been all bad. Like it's easy to look at it in a vacuum and be like, well, Big House got nuked. That sucks. But like going in, I was talking to Bobby about this. Going in to Big House Online, this project, I had a couple goals in mind, and one was, keep people talking about Big House during this COVID year, going into whenever we can host it again safely offline. And I think people have talked about it more than they ever could if we hosted an actual event. So in a weird way, that goal was kind of like accomplished. And then now with LACS and a couple other events that are propping up that are kind of like filling the void in December and January, I think the content filling the void goal in mind that I had is also kind of being accomplished in a weird way. So like, I don't feel that bad about it. I hope what comes out of this is Big House was this one-off thing and Nintendo looks at it and somehow goes like, oh, that bad PR was really shitty for us. Maybe we should just leave them alone.
Right. Because what we're all trying to do here is just maintain everybody's interest and passion in Melee until we're actually able to get together again. Because, our community was built from these in-person events, and like all the relationships that you see on the streams today were formed because of people getting together in person and just having insane Melee sessions and tournament sets together. So we're trying to extend that bridge as long as possible until we can get back together again. So yeah, it kind of exactly what Robin said is like, part of that is just keeping everybody talking about Melee and wanting to play Melee and just enjoying everything about the community. And so, yeah, like the response has actually helped as kind of like a second order effect in that way.
It's what was the way, Bobby, you had a really beautiful way of putting it on when you were dialed into Ludwig's stream.
Ooh, I like hearing that.
What did you say? You said it was this, like, this is the Big House Online, right?
Yes, that's how I really
I
felt.
thought that was so smart. I thought
That's how
that was,
I felt.
dude. I
felt
heard you
like-
say that, and I was like, only Bobby could have come up with that. I don't know how you do it sometimes. I was like, I got goosebumps the way you said it.
I was really thinking about the Spirit Bomb and how during the Spirit Bomb, like that was the narrative of Melee. It was us versus Skullgirls. Okay, who's going to put more money in the pot, and that's going to determine who wins. And that was the game as much as anything else was in that moment.
Mhm.
And yeah, I feel that now. I feel like, us and Nintendo, this is the game now. And I'm kind of looking forward to it because I feel like we have a huge advantage. I just feel like they're that huge, like Sheridan was saying, they just have to tank hits. They're just this big, clunky boss who could swing like, like it'll hit one building and it'll totally destroy the building. But meanwhile, we're setting up camps like we're like Zerg, dude.
I'm down.
We're
Zerg's
just
hype.
gonna wear them down, dude. They're gonna mine out the map. We're just gonna be chilling. We got our little encampments. I don't know. I do feel good about. I feel good about it.
Can social media pressure and bad PR really affect a corporation's stance?
Maybe.
I mean, do y'all feel like buying Nintendo products straight up right now?
Dude, so I started playing this game, Catherine Full Body, for stream, and I was like, okay, I can get it on the Switch or the PlayStation 4. And I was like, ooh, fuck, I'm getting on the fucking PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I asked a bunch of people in the community. Apparently, they all play on Switch because the netcode's a little better or something. And then I had to get it on Switch. But I sure did think to myself, I'm going to get it on PS4 up until I asked some of my friends who had purchased the game a while ago. But I thought about it.
Dude, the Switch is kind of nice, isn't it?
Yeah, you can take it with you.
That's the problem.
That's the fucking problem. I mean, Nintendo makes great products. They make great products. I just wish they made those same decisions in the community boardroom sometimes,
Yeah. Well, we got a lot more to discuss on the show.
Yeah.
Is that right?
We definitely do. We've
We're
got
gonna dig into
another 90 minutes. I mean, I did want to share one thing. I mean, what are you trying to do, Rob? Do you have anything to say to Toast Prompt, Toast Inquiry? What about you, Sheridan?
Well, if I can just speak really quickly about, me as a TO and how it's affected me. Traditionally, the next big tournament after Big House is Genesis. It's usually about three and a half months apart. So, and when Big House is done, that's traditionally the time when I, as a TO, and me and Bobak and Ken Silva, we get together and just start going nuts on planning for Genesis. Obviously, that's not happening this year, and we had a plan before the C&D all happened. So we've been just trying to come together and trying to figure out what we can do, but it's hard to say because it all depends on what we think Nintendo's reasoning and like their program of attack is going to be, because like they haven't shut down Ludwig's thing, right? Now, why do we think that is? Probably because,
Why? Because
there's two major factors. One is it's for charity, right? Just insanely bad PR if you try to do something for charity. Second thing, Robin was a Nintendo partner in the past. Ludwig was not. So
yeah,
Genesis obviously was a Nintendo partner in the past. So that makes this calculation pretty difficult for us because we don't know.
Seems like an easy calc for me.
Yeah.
This is the only apples comparison where
I would
somebody
say
else
that it
can
has
try.
to be.
Right.
I'd say that we just need to call it Revelations.
Obviously, if we do the exact same thing that Robin did, we'll get canned too.
Yeah.
But it's a question of like, is there some kind of boundary of that we can probe to see, like, can we do a tournament in a certain way or kind of massage the messaging in a certain way to avoid Nintendo's ire? Or maybe even Nintendo's willingness to extend the fight has been will have been just so dampened by the point that we're ready to announce that that they won't want to carry the fight on anymore. So
Yeah.
but thing is, like, if we announce in a particular way and they can us, it's like we can't just keep refreshing and going back to the drawing board and trying to announce new things. So it's like we kind of get one shot as Genesis.
Yeah,
So that's really,
that shot has to be refined in a way. I see what you're saying there. Yes.
yeah.
I feel like the more times it happens, though, the worse it is for them. I feel like we don't take as much damage. Well, you could decide how much you invest pre-announcement, but you could minimize your investment pre-announcement.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Well, that's the question, though, because you never know with social media blowback and just pressure. Is it something that you can keep refreshing constantly, or does it just kind of drop off over time and you're just going to never reach the heights that you were again? And there's all sorts of tactics you can take to try to keep it going and just have it blow up again and again. But you can only keep it going for so much. So you just wonder, like, whether if Genesis gets canned, is it going to have the same impact that it once did? Because we're not just relying on the people who watch Melee every single weekend, right? We're relying on the people who care just about competitive gaming in general, who have a passing interest in Melee, or who have done things in the past that, like, Nintendo has also come after, like YouTube monetization. People who care about that. So those are also the people that we want to have, like, a strong interest in this, and also, like, similar gaming communities like Splatoon. So it's something where we have to keep them, like, they have to keep being interested in it, and we have to keep giving them reasons to be interested in it. And if it's just like tournament gets canceled, I just wonder whether that like stacking up bad PR, or is that just people becoming accustomed to it? And I don't really have a way of that.
Interesting. Yeah, and I don't think there's really like a real precedent or like I don't really think anything has especially happened like this before in gaming.
Yeah.
Even the landscape now compared to a couple years ago is so different in terms of, like, our side as, I guess, like, consumers. Like, we've got a lot more. I feel like we've got more leverage now in like the community side of things, because we've got people like Ludwig, for example. We've got a lot more, I guess, reach. Like, you look at, like, how quickly the Kotaku article that Ian put out. It feels completely different from how this stuff would have went down a couple years ago. So yeah, there really is no way to know, is there?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I feel like, Sheridan, you're asking a lot of important questions. I just wanted to say, the way that I see it is basically that our currency is our authenticity and our passion and our heart. And I feel like going into Genesis, going into anything, in my mind, if we could take these as opportunities to kind of go back down memory lane and really even just do a little something about, here's what Genesis as a whole has meant for Smash. Here's what Big House has meant for Smash. And, like, here's potentially the next one. But, this is the storyline, and this is what's being threatened.
Yeah.
I feel like that's that's what it really is. And just telling our story as it is probably the most valuable thing we could do.
Absolutely. And our story will be told as,
Yes.
if you caught the little teaser from Melee It On Me a couple days ago, the story will be told. I can't say anything more than that right now, but I hope you all are ready to appreciate Melee.
Yeah.
And with that, we're at 1:35. We have a scheduled break programmed in. And so, Rob, can you tell us and the good viewers what is happening in the next 2 minutes?
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and then I believe we will have Spoopy and Nikki on to discuss the Melee is Broken book that is now circulating, and they'll have a lot to say. It's going to be an interesting discussion. We'll talk about kind of the culture of the community.
So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
What is up with it? Welcome back to Melee It On Me, a Big House Encore. And now we've got Spoopy and Nikki. What's up, guys?
Hey, thanks for having
Hello.
us. Such an
This-
honor.
This is
Absolutely.
yeah, this is super duper cool. So you you have put out and I believe actually Bobby, why don't you talk about it? Because I believe you just went through the checkout flow.
I did. I just purchased a copy of the book, but I thought that the best thing that we could do is we could say, Spoopy, Nikki, what do you want to just give us some background? Tell us, tell a good people, give yourself an introduction to the good people.
I would love to. I'll start us off. So I'm Spoopy. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a non-binary artist from Canada. And during my undergrad, my Bachelor of Fine Arts at Concordia University in Montreal, I used every elective I could to take game studies courses. And eventually, an individualized master's opportunity was brought forth to me where I could essentially make a program from scratch, which I did. Having Melee as my central topic in mind the entire time, I took courses in communication and design to create this beautiful ethnography for Super Smash Brothers Melee about our special community.
What is an ethnography?
An ethnography, I know. It's a word I didn't know until I started the program, but it's the descriptions and studies of the customs of individual peoples or cultures.
And of course, the Melee community is full of individual peoples rich with culture, rich with customs.
Correct.
And this book lays those out.
Yes, and
understand and explore.
And I brought Nicole on if she wants to introduce herself onto the team.
Hello, hi, I'm Nicole. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the, let's see, I have to look through the book to find my official title. I'm the secondary author, critique partner, and editor of Melee is Broken.
Melee is Broken, that's such a dope name. How'd you come up with the name?
We were going through the lexicon, or it's not an official lexicon, but thinking about different words that we've appropriated into our culture and how they take on new meanings and new forms, which is essentially how video games work in general, where you say, okay, this means this, and this will make you do this. And so when we say broken, it means a number of different things, from ranging from all the way to so good to so bad. And we wanted to take a play on that and give it an intriguing title, and we speak about broken in the text. There's a passage about broken and balance and how that's just an important dichotomy for us.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of meta because it's like part of the culture, and so you're using it to describe the culture that it's already sort of encased in.
Correct.
Yeah,
wow, that was a really cool way of putting it, and I've never thought about that actually. How that word is so perfect because it kind of represents that spectrum.
It's my dream that everyone, and I believe it too, that if you pick up this book, you will learn something new. And you will learn a new perspective about this game that we care so much about from 2001, this piece of residual media that no one ever thought was going to end up like this. And here we are, fighting back against the big guys and working together to, elevate us.
Yeah, actually, what good timing, right? Because I feel like,
kidding.
You've been working on this obviously longer than this free Melee stuff has been happening. I mean, it takes much longer than, and
how much longer, may I ask?
Actually, yeah, that's a great question.
Over 3 years of research. I started looking at SSBM as a research topic at the end of my undergrad. And then I started working in this place called the Residual Media Depot, which is this massive collection of box consoles, modded consoles, games, controllers, signal processing equipment from 1972 to today. So the team I was working with became very interested in Smash and the ways we use these residual medias and breathe new life into something that is essentially dead through our use and dedication.
Is and would Melee be classified as residual media? I suppose so, right?
Yeah. Came out in 2001, before the HDMI, before digital, or I wouldn't say it like that.
Right.
It's all true. It's all true.
Crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's a 19-year-old game that the game could drink in Ontario. Canada, not
and
Ontario,
British
California.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's been driving.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. What do you think it's like the sort of thing where it's more smashers who are kind of already ingrained in the culture are going to take more away from it? Do you think total non-smashers will also have, like takeaways from the book that they would find fascinating as well? And I
Nicole
guess
actually had some. Nicole had some good thoughts about this one.
Yeah,
ahead,
no, I can answer that. So essentially, like Spoopy and I intended this book as like a love letter to the community and like to this game and like all of like the just freaking amazing things that like it has made happen for us and for so many other people. But what I want for people like on the peripheral of Melee who are like, maybe they're into games, but they're into games casually, or they're into games competitively, but not this one, or even for people who like don't game at all, is that with
Hmm.
Melee, there is something that is like so amazing happening here. There's this like complex game that has gone unsolved for like literally like 2 decades of play, which is or nearly 2 decades of play, which is so freaking crazy. And then there's also this community that has enabled so many people to like grow and find success as individuals, but also at the same time form bonds that for many of us will last for the rest of our lives. And like that
Hmm.
is so special. I think that's really worth appreciating. And I want people to understand that as reading this book.
I would add to what Nikki said and say that this is a great opportunity to explain to people around you why this game is so special to you. My mom has read through the text entirely, and she's very confused about wobbling and how that came about. I'm I'm explaining gatekeeping to my mom. People are learning a
Cool.
lot, and it's written in a way that anyone can digest and take something from it.
What I'm even just getting hearing you from say that is this is kind of reminding me. I mean, this is it's really first of all, I just want to take a step back and say like it's this sort of perfect storm of Melee is broken and like the metagame doc, and we're gonna have Samox on later to talk about that. Kind of all dropping at the same time is really really just kind of fascinating and really cool to think about. And I was going to say, the way you're kind of describing some of these anecdotes from the book is making me think of the original Smash doc and how I thought it did such a good job kind of capturing that element of look at this like really dedicated community, this curious little culture that sprung up around this thing. And it's so cool both for Smashers and non-Smashers and even non-gamers alike. Are there any other really funny anecdotes from the? I mean, not as little or as much as you want to spoil about it, obviously, but you mentioned like wobbling. Anything
I
else
will
that's really
say
funny that's in there that you want to shout out?
there are 3 Easter eggs in the
There's
book.
three.
Okay.
I wouldn't say much more than that. If you think you have found one of the Easter eggs, you can tweet at us and let us
Yes.
know. Maybe we'll
Oh,
like arrange
what?
some sort of prize. I will also add that I'm an artist first, not a writer, and so it is an interdisciplinary ethnography. So I have used research creation, which is essentially doing non-traditional research beyond reading, where I
Okay.
apply my art practice to Melee to learn new things about it. So there are several exclusive pieces of works that not everyone has seen before. I haven't posted on my socials that are in the text that offer different, more visual based perspectives about my relationship to Melee, I guess. But I feel like anyone can take something from these new approaches to study.
Wow,
Can I
that's
also
awesome. Go ahead, Nicole.
Oh yeah, I want to jump in actually about this is that one thing in particular that really excited me about this book is that we were talking because like you brought up how like the documentary like showed that the documentary has this singular perspective on the community. Like it is the perspective of one like team, like crew of people working on figuring out
Mm.
the community and figuring out how to synthesize it into this like coherent narrative that works for film. And one thing that really interested me about this book is that a big part of it is like we understand that there's a lot of existing narratives about the community that are shaped by the people who are writing them, and history
Specifically to
being
players too.
yes, yeah, specifically the player. Yeah, lots of focus on like the players, and maybe not as much focus on how there's a lot of other people within the community. There's a lot of other community members who have all contributed and all have their own narratives, stories, perspectives, and whatnot. And so we talk about kind of like challenging this idea that there's any one particular singular narrative about the community or any one singular thing to favor. And I think one way that we execute that, and this is something that I personally am very proud of and really made me really happy to be a part of this project, is that Melee is Broken is the first book about Super Smash Bros. Melee to be entirely written, edited, designed, and published by a team, a partnership between two
Mm.
non-cisgender men. This is literally the first time that this has ever happened in history. And I understand that like, the perspective of like gender minorities and or queer people in the scene has historically been like under narrativized, under
Uh-huh.
publicized, under documented.
That's probably safe to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I know, right?
absolutely.
It's like that's not even that controversial a statement, but it's like it is so sick to be a part of changing that and to like
Yeah,
opening people's perspective. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's my little speech. It's my little spiel.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
couldn't have
That
said
is
it
So
better.
Go us, go us. More progress to be made in terms of inclusivity, but like I've always been proud of the Melee community for kind of pushing to get better. You know, we're not we're not the best, but when I look at the culture at large, nobody's that good, and I feel like we care.
We do care.
Yeah, we do
Yeah,
care. And it's
Mhm.
and so
also
I'm
like,
I'm
oh, sorry.
no no
It's
no.
also like Melee is. I talk about this in the book a little bit. I'm trying not to spoil too much, but it's like the Melee community is. It doesn't exist in a vacuum. Like we exist. How do I say this? It's
We're
like a
not
mirror,
sealed off from
right?
the outside world.
Yes, yeah, yeah. We're not. Oh my!
Right.
Stop, stop. Your
Didn't know.
unbelievable. This is unfair. How am I supposed to conduct an interview? That is
I know.
so
I'm so
stupid.
sorry. I was thinking it wasn't appropriate, but I also didn't think that.
No,
It's fine.
it's the most
Okay, I
appropriate
don't know
thing I could
what's
possibly think of. That is so wholesome.
Oh, stop.
Oh my god. I'm crying. Um, but yeah, I completely forgot what I was going to say. Well,
Yeah, thanks, Bobby.
yeah. No, I'm treasuring this moment though. I'm not
I
mad
know,
at all. I'm
honestly.
not.
Well, since I have your attention, I'll show you the fireman's carry. This is a wrestling move. Fireman's carry. Oh, oh, the torture rack, Lex Luthor. Oh, oh, you better tap out. You remember the torture rack? That's WCW.
I only know
Wow.
esports, sorry.
I'll be back.
I know a little
Okay.
bit about wrestling. That was very impressive homage. Homage? I never know how to pronounce that word.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah.
Something about I think you were saying something about not being sealed off from the outside world. That was the
Yeah.
Oh
last
yeah.
that was the
Well,
last thing.
the really cool thing is that, we're not sealed off. We don't live in a vacuum. A lot of I mean, I'm going to be honest, like a lot of the like negative things about the world, a lot of evil things about the world, they
Mhm.
still appear in Melee in their own way. But I feel like what's also so cool is that over time, I've seen the community reflect like optimistic, positive, more inclusive, and like welcoming attitudes that are happening as the rest of the world is changing too. And like I think that's thick, and I think it only stands to grow from here. And like I'm genuinely really
Yeah.
happy about it.
Yeah, that's a yeah. I totally agree with you there. Are there any like yet underexplored aspects of the Melee community that you're yet interested in researching, or that you think can be further researched, or further documented, or anything like that?
Well, it's hard for me to think about other things to explore because I just did this for over 3 years. So I'm going to take a
Right.
break. However, I will say I look forward to seeing the potential going forward to amplify these non-traditional narratives of the non-player or the queer person or the other roles in the community that are often overlooked. And Melee, I find, can often speak to the journey of the self, of this quest to grow spiritually as a competitor. We've seen different tags and tournaments. I forget who wore self for a while.
You.
PPU,
Pew
yeah,
Pew Pew, right?
Oh
Exactly.
yeah.
that's a cool one.
And if I could encourage anyone to take anything from that narrative during this awful time of the pandemic, is to take this time to focus on yourself as the individual, how you contribute to our space, not only our space, but every space, and
Mhm.
really just take the time to reflect if you can.
The Buddha said, "As you sharpen the arrow, so too do you sharpen yourself." So as we get better at any craft, right, you have to confront
Unbelievable.
your own self as you get better and better at the craft. And so, I think the Melee community is a great place to start. All crooked, really messed up arrow, and we'll have the game will help.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. The game shows I feel like the game shows people things in themselves that like sometimes they want to run away from. But that's why I also think that it's such a sick method of like self-expression, because it's like you're simultaneously like putting yourself into the game. And we talk about how like, like the like people are like putting themselves into their characters and like controllers and like kind of creating this like mind meld with them, which is a really sick section of the book. But yeah, it's like this it's just such a like complex way of like expressing yourself, and it's like an artistic medium like in itself, and
Mhm.
it allows people to confront things about themselves, and I think that's really cool.
I'm like just noticing that as you two are talking about these kind of things that are brought up in the book, I like the enthusiasm you guys have is actually really infectious. And just kind of hearing that little quiver in your voice as you're sort of like describing the mind meld and things like that, which sounds hype. I have no idea what it is. I can't wait to find out. But it's actually making me more and more excited to get my hands on a copy. It really is. I can tell it's going to be sick.
I'm ecstatic.
I guess I'm sure that like there's people in chat that are sort of asking, just to make sure we're all on the same page here. What's the best place to pick up a copy?
The best place to purchase Melee is Broken is to go to your browser and type in spoopy, SPOOPY.ca/book, and you will be rerouted to the best place to buy it.
Nice. Spoopy. Can we get are there any mods that can do like a, you know what I mean? Like a command? That would be so sick. Wait, I have a mod.
We need a command mod. I just bought my copy. I just went through the checkout flow. I'm super excited to read it. I'm so happy that y'all were inspired to make it real. Yeah. Thank you both so much.
It means a lot.
For your
Thank you so
dedication
much.
and hard work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And it is super dope that this is all happening at the time that we're literally meeting our makers. I'm just curious, how have the recent events affected you both as a kind of last thing before we break?
Well, I was really excited to watch Big House, so I was pretty disappointed to hear the shutdown. It hasn't affected us directly, but I guess it just makes us want to fight more.
Yeah, it makes me nervous and nervous for the future of the community, but also very hopeful that it's funny. I was talking to Chroma the other day, and he was like, "This is content December. So many different things are coming out in support of Melee, and there's so much buzz and hype and getting people excited about this awesome game, and I'm simultaneously both nervous and hopeful. I will say that much.
Yeah,
I totally feel that. I do. I feel the same way. And I feel, the more I think about all this, the more I think about how the community, in some regard, we come from the game. That's the seed of our existence. But also, in certain ways, we transcend the game. And I think that this book is just one more artifact of that truth.
I will say
that book will exist whatever Nintendo wants to do. They can't destroy copies of the book.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe they can. Maybe I don't know about their technology, but I really don't think so.
I don't think so. Yeah, I think there's legal.
Yeah,
there's got to be rules against that.
Just read it.
A bunch of chat is also asking: is the book available digitally, or will it be available digitally or anything? No, you got to pick up a physical copy.
You got to pick up the physical copy. I have a very strict adherence to the physicality of the book as a book object. A lot of my art practice includes bookmaking and printmaking, so I'm pretty strict about that, unfortunately. Maybe it will change eventually, but for now, it looks great on a coffee table. It's a beautiful shade of yellow. You got your Broken controller on the front. It's worth it as an object.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love holding this thing. It's smooth.
It's very smooth.
Yeah, it's so smooth, and it looks cool, and it's just fun to hold and flip through. So yeah, get yourself a copy.
Full color, baby.
Oh yeah, full color. Oh yeah, full color too. So.
Well, Spoopy, Nikki, thank you both so much for being here. Spoopy.ca/book. Check it out. Pick yourself up a copy, and we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back very, very soon. Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What is up with it? Welcome back to Melee It On Me. And we are here with the menace himself, the Crimson Blur, as well as Chris Ogle, who I'm going to call Ogle. And we're going to talk about Smash GG being acquired by Microsoft, which I just heard about 2 seconds ago.
Wow.
What is going on in the community?
I think good things. Good things, I think.
So many
Apparently,
things.
we're
How
at
are there
war.
So many things. Yeah, there's a war going on. What in the world?
So much happening.
Hello and welcome to the show. Blur, how have you been? It's been a minute
It's
since
good to
I've
be
spoken
here.
to you personally.
Dude, I am actually so well. And you know what it is? It takes a
I'm
little
not surprised to
fire.
hear that. For some
takes a
reason, Toph,
little
I got to
bit.
tell you, I'm not surprised to hear that Blur is doing just fine right now. I swear to God.
It takes a little bit of fire to get me going. And I feel like I am built for war. I'm built for wartime.
You're dead.
You know?
You definitely are. You definitely are.
This is what it's all about.
I honestly can't even disagree with that. I feel like you've been misused in peacetime. It's been way too peaceful for the Crimson Blur to be doing his best work.
No. You know, and I feel like a lot of things are going on behind the scenes. We're making things happen. You see this thing that we made a Splatoon event like 24 hours. How insane is that? So all that's going on. I don't want to take away from what this talk we want to have with my good friend Ogle, who I just have to say big congratulations to, as well as the rest of Smash
Thank you.
team, because frankly, I don't know if there has been a more impactful project in terms of the Smash community than Smash GG. Something that was born out of love for Melee. And you look at it and it's like changed esports forever. And that's a fact. And now acquired by Microsoft, successful exit. Congratulations. And
Congratulations.
it's going to, and now that basically guarantees it's going to be around for a long time, which I'm excited about. Can you give us some color on what happened and what's going on?
Yeah, for sure. And thank you. Thank you for saying that. It's been quite an experience these last 6 years for sure. And really happy to have someone like you praising us. But in terms of what happened, so we were, we were doing our thing as a startup, and coming into 2020, we had a bunch of projects lined up with outside partners, partnerships and BD deals and stuff, and we thought that was going to bring in a fair amount of revenue for us. And towards the end of 2019, we started focusing on revenue features, and this was going to kind of bridge the gap. So then, of course, as we got into 2020, COVID happened. We realized all the live events are not coming back anytime soon. All these folks started pulling out, and all these opportunities started drying up. And so at that point, we realized that we're going to have to do something here in order to survive. And the options were basically new round of funding, acquisition, or like drastically reducing the size of the team, which we obviously really didn't want to do. So we felt like the acquisition would be the best course of action. And so, started reaching out to people, started talking to some folks that we thought might be interested. Turns out that Microsoft was one of those people. We've actually had like this pretty long relationship with Microsoft. We've probably worked with them since 2017 on their retail stores. And honestly, shout out to Matt.Zeb, who was the one managing that relationship for us and really painted us in a good light with them.
Shout out
and
to
so
Matt.
once we knew that Microsoft was interested, they kind of became like our first choice. Again, because of that relationship, and because just like their size and scale, we felt like this is the best chance to like really secure the future and make sure we'll be around for a while. And so, yeah, at that point, it was just a matter of like, negotiations and going through the process and whatnot. And here we are. And I can tell you, like, the whole team is unbelievably excited to be there. So a great outcome for us.
Yeah. It feels like, especially off of the back of all the bad stuff that's happened in 2020, it's just like, in a way, it's got to be just kind of a breath of fresh air for you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Ogle, and before we move on, kind of how much are you allowed to kind of, if you're allowed to, like, walk us through a little bit about the process that sort of led to that acquisition? Like, was this like mostly, so you say Matt Dotson was sort of managing this relationship. Yeah, just kind of
Matt Dotson was managing it in the past, but he left early 2020 to go to the Call of Duty League.
That's what I thought. And
right, and so we had other people managing at that point, and our then CEO had a relationship with them as well. And so, like I said, when we were looking for potential suitors, like we were in pretty constant contact with them for different projects. And we sensed that like they had always sort of respected us and respected what we were doing, and really liked the team. And so, they were one of the first people we went to, of course.
That feels super duper important. I've worked at startups in the past, and there's always kind of this, I guess, worry, I suppose, when you're looking at an acquisition as a potential exit. It's like you want to find somebody who's going to be a homie at the end of the day, someone who's going to kind of respect what you're doing and give you help to give you resources, but not just kind of, I guess, impose their will on you or what have you. Are there any, is that, do you feel like what sorts of resources can, you talked a little about like longevity. This is kind of, assurance that Smash will be here to stay. What additional resources do you feel like Microsoft can kind of provide that you're excited for?
So we're joining a bigger team. So we're joining like the sports and esports team at Microsoft.
Okay.
And so, just right off the bat, there'll be more people, more engineers, more man hours, all of that. But they've also, they've got all sorts of really interesting ideas already. And, they've got all sorts of technologies they've developed that maybe they could roll in. They've got all sorts of channels and platforms. They've got a huge amount of reach. And so I think all of that can be brought to bear. They've reiterated to us consistently that like they want it to be business as usual, and they like the mission, and they want to support what we're doing and just be able to like make it bigger and better. So I think there's quite a bit they can do for us. Some of the people we were talking to, not quite the size of Microsoft, so maybe not as many resources that could have been brought, but I think Microsoft's going to be really great for the future.
Do you have like a perfect world, like in a perfect world, like if everything, you could have everything your way, everything goes as ideally as possible, magic wand, right? Like, thinking outside of the realm of the scope of just say, like individual communities like Smash, is this, because you mentioned Microsoft's reach, like, do you kind of have a vision for like the best possible long-term case for how this kind of propels Smash-G and in turn enables Smash-G to empower esports?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's kind of what we were trying to do the whole time at Smash-G, but, we want to be able to support every gaming community across esports as well as we do Smash. And let's be honest, we could probably support Smash a little better too, but, we want to be able to be the place for grassroots esports, no matter what esport we're talking about.
That's sick.
Love grassroots esports. That's what it's all about. The bottoms up.
That's actually
go ahead, Blair.
That's actually was the company philosophy for a while, right? Like, hey, let's build esports from the bottoms up.
Love
so
it.
it feels like, it's right in our blood, right? Like the name is actually very apt. At first I was like, you guys are named yourself Smash G, you're going to have other games. But now I get it. Finally, I'm like, you know what? This made complete sense. It made complete sense.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it was born out of the love of the Melee community, and that's where we started, obviously. And we just took the approach that because Melee is so grassroots, that we wanted to be able to support organizers. I don't think we necessarily publicized it as well as we should have, but our mission was always to turn passions into careers. We wanted to help organizers run more events, run better events, make money from their events, make money from their brand. And I think that extends to not only organizers, but streamers and players as well. I think that's something we see in the future. So yeah, it's always been about bottom up, working with organizers and helping make them successful.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear. It's just, we were just talking about kind of I don't know. I like the way maybe this is kind of a weird parallel to make, but we were just talking about like Nintendo's influence over Melee and kind of the ugly side of corporate influence and stuff like that. And I mean, to me, this looks like kind of the other side of that coin, where it's like, this is what it, could look like if, one of the big guys like Microsoft actually, respects you and puts in a little bit of work to understand your vision. And, yeah, this is just, it just feels like a super, super positive kind of anecdote, amongst, or juxtaposed next to the Nintendo bullshit,
Yeah, I think so, and I'm certainly hopeful, and I don't know how much I can say on the Nintendo situation. Kind of seems like a missed opportunity, but hey,
isn't that a great way to? That's
Doesn't it?
exactly how I feel. Doesn't it feel like a missed opportunity? I don't know.
Can't we just get along?
What is your own role changing? And as like you mentioned, obviously you're kind of working with a bigger team now, and you've got more engineers and things like that. And can you speak on whatever is there anything you'd like to speak on that coming next for the platform? That you're at liberty to talk about.
Yeah. So in terms of my role, it's not really changing too much. I mean, everyone's titles are changing at Microsoft, of course, but the partner success team is going to be doing the same thing, working with our organizers to make them successful, working with partners to make them successful. So I don't anticipate that changing too much, at least in the near term. In terms of what's next, honestly, it's still really fresh. Like, I think we've been at Microsoft for 3 days, so we haven't quite gotten to the road mapping and whatnot yet. But like I said, they've already got so many great ideas just from like a couple meetings, and I don't know. I'm just super excited for the future, and I can say the rest of the team is as well.
Dope.
Yeah,
I'm excited too. Big congratulations to Smash GG. We've been working closely with Smash GG for a long. When did Smash GG come to life? I just remember. I think it wasn't. I'm Not Yelling. It was something in NorCal. I remember doing a Melee and Omni podcast where we kind of introduced Smash GG. I pulled it up on my phone. I was like, "Look, this is how you use it."
This is how
easy. So the first thing we ever,
I remember that.
I'm Not Yelling was the first event.
The first thing we ever did was we went to Apex 2015 and we made the Fantasy Smash thing, and I think that's where Sean
The
first
last
talked
Apex,
to
right?
Bugler and to Rob. I guess so.
Last Apex.
Apex 2015.
Wow.
Mhm.
I missed. I remember. Not really having any IRL tournaments right now, but I do miss seeing the entire Smash G crew at all the majors and stuff like that. That was always really cool.
Those were the days, man. Those early days of everyone showing up and what might happen to this tournament. Yeah, that was exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it's what a ride it's been. It's and I also like, the way I'm kind of looking at this is like it's like obviously massive W for you guys. I think it's also definitely just a big W for the Smash community, right? Like this is we kind of, it's like, I mean, on I guess 2 levels. Like one, it's like, here's Microsoft and they're kind of throwing us a bone, which is really cool. But obviously it's also just the fact that we're going to have this platform around for, as long as it wants to be around at this point. It's going to be we can rely on it and you guys can continue to iterate on it, and you're empowered to do that now. Bobby, I wasn't at Twitch in the the pre-acquisition Twitch days, but I don't know if you're seeing any parallels with kind of how Twitch was emboldened to do new things after like post.
I would have to think about it, but yeah, so much is dude. Twitch is a whole other beast. So let's not open that can of worms, dude.
Yeah,
don't make me comment on Twitch. Don't make me talk on Twitch's behalf right now, please.
I miss the old school Twitch days.
What's the PR for Twitch these days? It's like up there, right? We're great. Everybody loves us. We're crushing it.
Yeah. You know what the crazy thing is? It just feels like who else is? It's like not great, but it's like who else is doing Twitch stuff? I don't know. It's kind of a funny thing.
That's the funny thing.
So during, I feel like the COVID and quarantine era, like it's been like such a reset. I feel like the whole thing has made me appreciate like the last like 5 years of my life, 6 years of my life even more. I was just like literally being like, wait a second, my life was pretty sick. I was like, just taking it. I was like, it was pretty good to be the Blur. It was actually really good. And I
just realized.
It was crazy. It still is, but it's a different life now. I'm mostly in my room. I don't leave.
Mhm.
And I think like something like a company acquisition, there's a lot of self-reflection and stuff, right? Like you're moving on to a new chapter. Everyone's moving on a little bit. And obviously you're still going to be working on the same great things. But what I want to know, because I may never be put into like the positions of power and that you were put in starting such a great company and making it all happen. What I want to know is, what did you learn? Tell me something that I can learn from this whole
Oh,
thing.
dude.
Just what what
Let us know.
what are you taking in?
Mhm.
What are you reflecting on right
question.
now?
Oh boy. I mean, I certainly agree with you that the last 5, 6 years were really sick, and starting this company and like the journey that it's been has been absolutely incredible. I mean, I would say like the coolest part has been all the different people that I've gotten to work with, like just so many amazingly smart, talented, passionate people, and you know, the people that we serve, like the fact that I know there's some problems with the site sometimes, but we've built something that people really like using and is like pretty crucial, and that has been really rewarding. And there's a little bit of like, you can kind of feed off that energy that like people like this thing, and we're like, sort of a part of the community, and we're getting that feedback all the time, and so that's been really rewarding. I can't. It's hard to on the spot give you one learning, but there have been so many. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I totally
Wow.
believe it. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for Smash GG existing. Continues to help us, especially, it's like crucial nowadays. The only
Dude.
tournaments that I've entered, it's been like so dope to just, have an interface that helps a tournament actually happen. Can't imagine what we would do without it.
I think
So
it's
yeah,
even
thanks so much.
more, especially when you peek under the hood as an organizer, right, Blur? You can probably speak to this, but I feel like, I was reading a thread by my boy Curly the other day, and he was kind of talking about, look, like before the Smash G days, like the way as an organizer, you had to like collect payments from people. And then, if people try to refund, like every little thing is just, it was like, no, you just could not go back to the pre-Smash G days as an organizer. Like it just wouldn't make sense. Like the alternatives are just god awful or non-existent.
They don't exist. Like, and
Right?
I think
It's
that's the
just
crazy part is that sometimes I think about it, I'm like, dude, maybe there is a plan to all this after all. Because right when Melee was like ready to explode, right, Apex 2015, all this stuff, Smash GG comes along and allows us to run big events. Because I feel like the general rule doesn't understand how many features there are on the back end. Like there's phase transitions. This is just something that the other platforms don't do. You can take in registration money. You can manage that money. There's like all sorts of formats you can run that you can't run otherwise. Like just like me and my boys are running the TMTs. You literally can't run that on any other platform. It's not even possible. Like, and there's so many cases like that of like legitimate like products and stuff that we couldn't have done. Summit would have never been a thing without
Yeah.
Smash GG.
Yeah, the compendiums.
Right?
Yep.
All of that, like so many things that we funded and made happen, literally
Yep.
couldn't have happened, and it came along like it's so weird because
At just the right time.
this dude Sean, the homie, came and talked to me at Apex 20. He was like, "Who is this guy?" He's like, we're doing this little fancy thing on this little shitty website." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." But we actually we hit it off, and I'm shocked to be able to say years later, and with like such an incredible team, including Ogle and everybody that there, like it actually became a real idea. Like a lot of times I go in venues and people talk and like say all these awesome ideas,
Right.
like, and they say, "Oh, we're gonna do this or that or whatever," and I'm like, "Sure, buddy," right? But then it actually happened. It actually like made a real difference, and the project actually like came into completion, and it's now like a real thing that we're just gonna have. Like it just blows my mind, honestly. And we literally would not have been able to succeed in the ways that we succeeded in the last 5 years without it. Like, just period. All the things we would have done wouldn't have been the same.
I will say, go ahead, Ogle.
I was just gonna say thanks. That means a lot, and a lot of the stuff you've mentioned, like ladders, summit, all these features, we do have a ton of that functionality, and a lot of it was inspired by like people like you coming to us and being like, "Hey, here's this sick thing we want to do. What do you think?" And we would just work alongside those folks to make it happen. So a lot of it is from just like community and user feedback.
Yeah, but that's crazy.
Hand in hand.
Literally-
Success hand in hand.
Literally, we would be like, hey, we want to run this one little tournament. They just build the whole, like, a feature set for it. Like,
Mhm.
they were like a little dev team that were just like, hey, can you make this? And they would just make it. That's crazy.
Sometimes it can be done. Sometimes
I'm
you
used
can
to
cut
things not
through
getting
all the
done,
red
dude.
tape. Sometimes it can get done, but in other environments, sometimes it just can't get done.
It's crazy.
But anyway, Ogle, thank you so much for being here. Any last words before we cut to the next segment?
I just want to thank everyone, like past and present, that's been part of Smash GG or that's supported us. Like I said, it's been such an incredible journey and such a great part of my life. And yeah, we're just we're really excited with the outcome here and super excited to see what the future holds at Microsoft. It's great to be with you guys.
We'll be watching. Thanks again, and yeah, we'll move into the future hand in hand. Congratulations again, and yeah, we've got some exciting stuff coming up. We're almost running out of time here with Melee at Omi, the first podcast in however many years or whatever.
Mhm.
We're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back with Sam Mox. Thanks again, Ogle.
God, see you, Ogle.
What is up with it? Welcome back with the Melee at Omi podcast. Of course, we had some technical issues, okay? We're still streaming a podcast on the internet, all right? A lot has changed in the last 5 years, but not everything.
No.
I was about to call Samox on the phone, and that would have been a horrible experience. So thank you to production for a quick solution. And yeah, we're back with the man who put out the original Smash documentary, the
Man, the
piece
myth,
of
the legend.
media that changed the Melee world forever. What is up with it, Samox?
Dude, how you doing, man? It's been a long time, and it's great to see you.
I'm excited.
What up, Travis?
Dude, Toph, Blair, everybody. Just this just brings me such joy. I mean, like that sort of Christmas joy that you can only get around this time of year. Just seeing your
Well,
guys.
you know what?
The most wonderful time.
As soon as it's always, there's got to be the same year. I don't know if did the documentary come out after Evo? It didn't, right?
It did. It came out after Evo.
Okay, so as soon if there's going to be a confrontation with Nintendo, there's got to be some news from Samox. That's when you pop out of the woodwork. Okay, so look, man, something's going on with Nintendo. What do you have to tell me?
I mean, there is a crazy thing about the universe of Melee. I think that some things. I think what was Mango said that like there's a god of Melee, and not about the five gods. This is totally different.
Right.
There is a Melee god though. Some
up there.
mystical, up there.
Yeah.
You know, pulling the strings, making sure that everything happens when it should happen.
An
And
essential universal entity.
Blur, I don't like look at
Exactly.
your face right now. I just feel like you're trying to. You're doing this face like I feel like
So,
you're pulling
dude,
the strings.
I always say, so I tell people this: you give Melee a stage, and somehow it always works out. Basically, whenever Tio was worried about, like, oh, dude, I feel like, you never know, the matches
one's
might not
gonna-
turn out right. No one's gonna show up. I'm like, just shut the fuck up, host a good event. People are gonna show up, and the matches are gonna be amazing as long as you just do your part of the story.
If you build it, they will come.
exactly.
I guarantee it,
Wow.
because there's a spirit out there, and it's mystical.
That's kind of been honestly that if there's been one recurring theme on the podcast today, as we've kind of brought in people doing big things in Melee today, the recurring theme has been, just how fortuitous all of this stuff coming together at once when we need it the most.
I am so excited for Melee is Broken. That book, like the excitement between those two. Like I could listen to Nikki talk about anything because whatever she says is just it sounds amazing.
You can tell, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the excitement, the way she phrased, she said that that book was a love letter to Melee, and that hearing that word immediately went right into my brain because that is how I feel about the original documentary that I made. It was a love letter. It was this special group that deserves it, and
we know.
Yeah.
Watching that thing, I felt like someone was writing a love letter to the Melee community.
Yeah,
I was reading it.
Yeah.
Also,
you go ahead.
Hope you had something that you were obligated to say about the book Melee is Broken.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot to say in the last segment. You're right. Spoopy, as soon as we went off the camera, Spoopy wanted me to convey that she forgot to say this out loud, but she wanted to say that she thinks the book is poggers. Specifically.
Poggers. So now it's been said.
Now it's been said. That's right. Yeah, Travis, I wanted to ask you, how has your life been the past? So I remember you interviewed me. It must have been 2015 or 2016.
I believe it was. You might be right. I think it was 2015. It was before Apex 2015. So actually, it might have been towards the end of the year 2014. So it's been a while.
That's insane.
No.
Yeah. Well, how's your life just been the past few years? Have you been working on metagame more or less full time, or
So you know how your life has been the last 8 months or so with COVID?
Sure. Oh,
like that was my life for the last 5 years. So there's this particular sensation I had when it became obvious everything was going to go into lockdown and things were going to have to be kind of all inside for a while. I was really looking forward to finally being done and sort of having a big sort of momentous event where everybody's together and we can all sort of experience it as a community. And unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do that in person this year. So for the last 5 odd years, I think I've been doing this essentially full time, and it was a big transition for me to find a way to keep on doing it when I knew I had to find more sources and stuff like that. Eventually realizing that that would take even more time to clear various pieces of media like some. I basically had to track down people in different countries, all over the world, doing some almost private detective work to find, this picture comes from this person in, Slovakia, and trying to find them now. And that whole process, it's really helped actually the Patreon that I have to be able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to do that without that and the direct support of the community. So shout outs to every one of my patrons. I know I try to make it worth it for you. I'm hoping that the documentary will make it worth it, just in general.
Shout outs to your patrons from me too. Thank you so much for your contributions.
Seriously, thank you.
So did we talk about how you feel about the Nintendo stuff yet though?
I just think.
How's that affected you?
That hasn't really affected me. I will just say that it. I think somebody said it earlier that it feels like a missed opportunity. Where we could be, there's so much potential there that just gets squandered, and I'm always hopeful though. That's sort of the thing I think it's reflected in the book that Melee is Broken, what she was talking about. It's almost aspirational. Everything about the community and even the game itself, the players who take it upon themselves to become the best and work on themselves and try to find, okay, this is the way I can fix this. This is the way I can fix this. By the way, Toph, you talk about this in the documentary a little bit.
Okay.
It's all about, you spend the time that you could have spent, just relaxing in front of the couch, and you work on yourself. You try to find ways to improve yourself. And that, I think, writ large, represents to me the best of what this community is. Which is just getting better and building roads together, making the community better together. I guess that would be kind of my attitude on the whole thing. We need to become. It would be great to become better together.
Toph, can I have an aside with you for a second?
Go ahead.
I don't remember at all what I said 5 years ago. I feel like I was such a dumber person
I know,
5 years ago. Part of me is afraid about what did I say? What's
I'm a little
be
worried. Travis said, he said,
I'm worried about it too.
About this. And I'm kind of like, okay, I believe you. I hope I said something good. I have no fucking clue what I said. It's been so long. But it's.
Can I just say that you guys have nothing to worry about. I have gotten some messages from people.
See, that's the thing, right? We're in Sandbox's hands. At the end of the day, Blair, you got to remember whose hands you're in.
Yeah. I tried to make sure, and this is something I really did want to pay attention to this time around. Because I know, Mango, for instance, he's not the biggest fan of his episode, and I could see why. But I wanted to make sure that everyone sort of has as much as possible sort of three-dimensionality to them, so that they're not just caricatures. Obviously Leffen might be in the role of villain of some degree in a larger narrative about this era of the five gods.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want it to be I want everybody to come off looking good. So don't worry about it.
Okay. Okay.
Nice.
It's not even for me. It's not even about that. It's just, I think you're your own harshest critic. I think is something that a lot of people just got to resound with. And I'm I'm like, man, I don't know, man. What if I say?
Yeah, if you think you're hard, if you think you're hard on, hard on today's self, think about 5 years ago self,
right?
Yeah.
Well, Bobby gets a picture. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was gonna. No, actually, you go ahead first.
Well, I just wanted to mention Bobby, and I was clarifying with him today about a picture he sent me for the documentary, inclusion. Bobby gets a 13-year-old self shot. I believe it was your 13th birthday. You're cutting the cake. You're giving a big smile. So,
fuck if I know, man.
You can't complain about that. It's adorable.
Yeah. Ancient memories. You did send me that picture today, and I was looking at it, and that's like the home that I grew up in, but like the old coat of paint. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So I'm looking at it like, oh damn, I remember those walls in that color. But let's look today. A lot has changed.
Yeah.
If we ask how's the community? I like this question. I don't know if y'all see. Someone wanted to ask you, Samox, how do you feel that the community's changed between 2013 and 2020 from your perspective?
I mean,
that's a very interesting question.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think it's changed for the better in a lot of different ways. I mean, I feel like we kind of got away from the language that you hear in the original documentary. Like it sort of makes me cringe now when I watch it, just because it's like that's not accept. It almost became unacceptable almost immediately as soon as we started to grow and get more attention. And it was a long time coming where we sort of grew up and grew out of that. And so the inclusivity, I think, has gotten better. I love seeing things like Smash Sisters. Just even just the work that what were they saying? They were saying this is the first major project that's been done by not and with no straight males or straight men like doing it, which is great. If I'm looking forward to the future of the game and the community, having more of that inclusivity is just always a good thing. And it's radically different now than it was in 2013.
Yeah. If you think about the community's age, it almost kind of makes sense. Like we used to be like 13 or whatever. We're like super shitty. Now we're 19. We're like not the best, but we're growing up.
Dude,
we're grown up. Time, we're still not adults, but whatever.
Literally for the last decade of my life, in the background, I've had in the back of my mind knowing that there's this guy, Travis, like a hermit in New England, crafting a story, and there's going to be a bomb that drops that's going to grow our community again.
In the back of your mind, right, Blur? Like once every 8 months, you'd wake up being like, "Wait, he's still working.
It's still happening, right?" And I gotta say, like, this thing's coming out, and obviously, this is like way more build up for you. But for me, there's also like, there's something where like there was a piece of mind in the back of my mind that there's always this Travis guy, working for us at all, like 10 years, dude. You've been making Smash documentaries and content for like 10 years now. That's insane. What a life. How's that a thing that we can do? That's
I'm actually that's a really good point. I'm super happy that you exist and that you get to exist doing such a work, such an important thing.
I am entirely humbled and grateful that I get to do this kind of stuff, and it would only be possible if I had the support of the community. And Chris, my amazing producer, Alpha Zealot, did want me to mention while we talked that if it is in your heart to potentially go and help, defray the cost of production, which are substantial, you can go to the metagamedoc.com. I'm sorry, metagamedoc.com/donate now. There's a new page for donations. So if you have a couple bucks lying around, you can always send them that way. But honestly,
I think it's so funny to see how little Samox cares about like making the money back, and how AZ's behind him saying like, dude, you got to remember, you got to remember. Dude, he's like, what's the URL? What's the link? How do you give me money? I don't even know, man. Metagame.doc.game, pay me. What was the link again?
It was metagamedoc.com/donate. And dude, shout outs to AZ. He is such a good soul, and I'm so grateful to have him behind this project and like just willing to be a part of it. And he knows so much about business parts, the things that I didn't know about, and I've learned. That's a huge. My education has been learning about the finer points. Trying to get this on something like a Netflix or something, which is still out there as, people saw this announcement and they're like, oh no, it's not going to be on Netflix or whatever. That's not, the case. Like just bringing this out there to the world on Twitch seemed like a really good way to start it. And that dream is still very much alive of getting it on something like that.
It's a pitch, right? That's the idea. It's like, it's like you're going to build that pitch and kind of.
Exactly. I mean, when people see, it's hard to you try to tell someone. It's much better to show, and I think the show part is going to be the reaction that the community has to the documentary. Hopefully, it's good. Hopefully, it's overwhelmingly awesome. I think it's a great story, personally. I like the story of the gods and just that whole era. Really fascinating on a lot of levels.
Yeah, actually, that kind of.
Can I ask? I just need to ask something really quick. So Blur is saying it's coming out. Like, do we have an official? Does everybody know about? Like, is there an official announcement? When is this thing coming out and where?
What
is the date?
It's like 5 days, right? In 5 days, I think.
It is imminent.
We all need to be clear about this. Tell the Soundwise, is there a final word on this? This is what I think everybody needs to know.
They asked. Everybody does need to know. December 11th, December 12th, and December 13th. It's a 3-day event. And it's great, actually. It gets to be broken up in a certain way because the first 3 episodes tally up to about a movie length. And they have a sort of a narrative arc that is very enjoyable. So we'll watch the first 3 together that first day. Saturday, it gets kicked up a notch. And we watch another 3 episodes. And it leaves us on such a cliffhanger. And then it just leads us into the last day on Sunday where we all get to watch this incredible climactic moment together for the last 2 episodes. So it's 8 episodes total over the course of those 3 days. The times, I believe, correct. I think that metagamedoc.com has the exact times for your time zones.
Okay,
I think
got
on
it.
the East Coast, it's 5 o'clock.
Insane. It's
metagamedoc.com.
Yeah.
Insane that it is. It's like basically the length of 2 and like 2/3 of a feature film, from what you're saying.
3 movies, essentially.
Yeah,
that's insane. Yeah, 3 movies.
Yeah, 6 hours total. 6 plus.
That's so much footage.
It's funny that we call it a documentary when it's really a docu-series. You're like on season 2.
Yeah.
You're on season 2. You're making season 2.
You're already you're in trilogy realm.
Yeah, if you wanted to, you could sit down and watch 10 hours of Samok's documentaries about one game.
Yeah,
and I do want to.
I want to ask, right? Because this kind of covers, my understanding is this is going to kind of primarily cover kind of that 5 Gods era. If you, what do you think are kind of the most important stories to tell, now? And is there kind of a, is there like, because I think that's the coolest part is that there's parallels between, when you go watch I've been kind of following along Leffen's rewatch of the original doc, and how there's kind of this narrative that ties into the next era of Melee and then the next era of Melee, right? Do you kind of sense that like the way this is? I mean, obviously we haven't seen Metagame yet, but is it going to kind of tie into kind of what's happening now and the most important stories from 2020?
Well, that's an excellent question. Also, I didn't know Leffen was doing a rewatch of the documentary. I have to watch that. I'm curious. But yeah, I think the fascinating thing about history, and especially with Melee, it seems like there's always like history kind of rhymes in certain ways. Like you had Kenaz and Isaiah as sort of like the top 3, like during the golden age, and that kind of spawned, like, there's this kind of group of players that became like PC Chris, Korean DJ, that whole group kind of spread out. And then it kind of bled into the 5 Gods era where you have Mewtwo King. It kind of transitions between both of those eras, sort of inaugurating the 2. Incidentally, I think Metagame kind of picks up almost exactly where the first doc sort of left off. There was sort of a little bit, like episode 8 in the original documentary, which was almost entirely centered around that one tournament, FC Legacy. That sort of is like a little break. It was what I was trying to do something a little different with that episode. And then obviously episode 9, it briefly touches on EVO 2013, but it really doesn't. It's almost like a wrap-up thing. So essentially the first documentary is from inception to around Mewtwo King, Mango time. And this one picks off Mewtwo King, and then Mango coming in there. As far as the future of the stories to be told, I mean, to be honest, I'm already anticipating how amazing this book is going to be, the Melee is Broken book. And I bet I'm not sure. I haven't read it yet, obviously, but I bet you could probably make a really interesting documentary with that book as a basis, just based on the way that how they excited they were, and where the background they're coming from, because they're talking about ethnography, a word that I still am not entirely sure I understand. But
we got to look it up 3 more
Gotta
times.
look it up, dude. It's probably on Google somewhere.
Yeah, I really think that those stories that they're telling, the stories that I love the way I tell stories personally. I enjoy them. That's why I do them. If you had to sort of quickly summarize how my influences for those, it would be Ken Burns meets Dragon Ball Z, and I think that really works for Melee in a lot of ways, because there's just so many sort of parallels, and there's a lot of themes I think that work in that sense. But that doesn't have to be the only lens, the only way to look at any number of subjects in the community. And I mean, I'm just excited to see kind of who else has stories to say that are outside of that kind of setup.
So, by the way, has anybody, Toph, Blur, have either of you gone to metagamedoc.com and scrolled down and read what's posted here? Can you say with a quick yes or no if you've done that before today?
No.
No, neither of you have done that. Okay, so I just got absorbed like looking into this. So if anybody wants a taste of the documentary, check out metagamedoc.com like right now. Just open in your browser. You have to scroll down. I will say that I would advise on some different information placement. Because the first thing that I did was I went to episodes to see like the schedule, and it said check back after premiere for episode information. Just stay on the homepage, don't go anywhere else. Just scroll down. There's some dope content here. This is getting me so hyped for the documentary.
Dude.
Ooh, I love seeing Leffen pop up. I love these statistics. This is so dope, dude. This is so filthy.
Can I ask a question? Because this is a genuine question. Who is Peter Grant Sr.?
Okay, so I mean, besides sharing a name with, I think, one of the most famous, the producers for, I believe he was a producer for Led Zeppelin. This is not who Peter Grant Sr. is, my Peter Grant Sr., but Peter Grant, the most famous Peter Grant is that Peter Grant, the producer for Led Zeppelin.
It's a different Peter Grant.
This is a different Peter Grant, not that one. This guy I've known my entire life. I grew up in Mill Valley, California, which is like now it's pretty hippy dippy, but like yuppie duppy. But it used to be more hippy dippy, and it was very crunchy granola. We under this beautiful mountain, gorgeous sort of countryside and stuff. And I grew up right across the street from me and my younger brother, across the street from my best friend and his younger brother, and we ended up making movies together as like 8-year-olds. And that's sort of how I got into this whole thing. But Peter Grant was his father, and so he's done so much as far as fostering me, and obviously Peter Jr., who's his son. He's been coming in the clutch as far as business side of things go. So the pact is me, Chris, Alpha Zealot, and Peter. That's sort of the brain trust of the metagame business side of it.
I love to hear it. See, I didn't know about that. Now I want to meet Peter Grant Sr. Tell him I appreciate it.
Senior did.
Shout outs, man. Shout outs.
That's big time. That's big time.
Hell yeah.
Here's a question. Obviously, when you make something this big, you're probably going to be refreshing Twitter, watching Twitch chat. You're going to be like seeing what the response is, right? What do you expect? Because you've done this once before. What do you expect the emotional? No, what do you expect like on an emotional level?
It's got to be so different from last time.
Yeah, this one's different a little bit,
I mean, there's definitely more time that's built up between then and now. I think, I don't actually know how, I mean, I'll be refreshing Twitter. I don't know if they'll be watching the chat. I'll definitely love to come back and watch the reactions of people. I think, honestly, I'll just be glued to the stream, making sure it's running well, because I'll be running that. So I'll just be, crossing my fingers, hoping that there's no gigantic storm or something that knocks out the power. But as far as anticipation for the reaction and watching people's, I am more than anything, I am not, sitting on pins and needles. I'm just so excited to finally see people's reactions to something that I've watched now probably 25 fucking times, like way too many goddamn times. And I think people are just going to love it. It's going to be another big book you can pull off the shelf. And, there will be obviously like actual DVD cases with that really cool design that Germ did on the front, and people will be able to have that. And same with the original doc. I have to still do the Kickstarter rewards for that. But I'm just excited, man. I'm so excited.
Did anyone,
I don't know.
hear that?
I think Bobby's muted and he doesn't realize it, which is cute.
That's what I'm worried about. It's also moving really slow.
Dang. My bad.
Oh, there you go.
I was just saying thank you to Samox, and I was saying thank you for your hard work over the last 10 years, your last decade of service. And also, I'm counting down till Friday at some time.
Thank you, man.
2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern,
Pacific.
10 p.m. GMT. 10 p.m. GMT, Friday, December 11th. Okay, I will see y'all there because that's the premiere of the world premiere of Metagame Doc. And then, can you tell us what happens after that? Like, what if people miss the premiere? Heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid. It will be available. I think we're looking at sort of a rental option or a just direct download option for purchase afterwards. There'll
like
be more
right
details
afterwards.
Pretty much right. Yeah, right afterwards.
Maybe Monday, Sunday, December 13th, or Monday.
Guarantee you, it will be within 24 hours of the premiere. You will be able to
Okay, so
download
everybody will
get it that
at worst
4K.
Yes, at worst, it'll be Sunday, December 13th. But tune in Friday, December 11th. Thank you again, Samox. It's great to talk to you.
Dude, great to talk to you guys too.
Great to talk to you, man.
Love you, man.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with Mad.Zeb talking about the week of Melee. Stay tuned.
Hell yeah.
What era is this? It's the Slippy era, okay? We've got the best net play, we've got the best video game, the best community. You have grassroots people trying to organize grassroots events clearly just because people want to play a video game together. Yeah, all right, let's play. Our content begins today. I don't know, we're making history as we speak. My goodness, what is up with it? Welcome back to the Melee on Me podcast. I need to ask, how do we become so lucky as a community that just in the last hour, we spoke with Spoopy and Nikki about a brand new book, Melee is Broken. By the way, Spoopy, we messed up their pronouns earlier. My apologies. But we had that great book coming out. We have the metagame documentary. We just had Travis Beauchamp on. The metagame documentary coming out this Friday. And also now I have Matt.Zeb here talking about something called Melee Week.
What something called Melee? There it is. There it
What
is.
is Melee Week, Matt? What is going on?
So all right. So we're going with 5 days of Melee here. So 5 days of Melee. This what it sounds like. It's pretty straightforward. It is 5 days of Melee content, 108 hours on the BTS Smash Twitch channel, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific on Monday the 14th and ending at 10 p.m. Pacific on Friday the 18th. We are perfectly sandwiched between the metagame documentary release and the LACS3 charity tournament. I'm incredibly excited for 10 straight days of Melee content on Twitch. And yeah, we're working with all sorts of different tournament organizers in the community, content creators. It's incredible. I think we have like 80-something people involved at this point. I have a list of all the orgs and people involved, and it's just nutty. It's like a crazy who's who of
just end the show. Just end the show right now.
It's insane,
just end the show right now.
Is absolutely
There's so much stuff to watch.
We've got people from Great Value Smash, from Recursion, from Smash Sisters, from Smash EG, from Melee Stats, from Melee Every Day, from Genesis, from Geeky Goon Squad, from Big House, from Endgame TV, from Clippy, from Project M Nexus, from No Fundies League, from Project M Rank, and the P Plus Dev Team. And that is right. Part of this week will have Project M on it.
So question.
That's actually wild. That's
pretty fucking sick, by the way. Zeb, I have a question for you. So you're telling me
it's a little spicy to say live. I feel like we wanted to leave that.
Hey, dude, no, this is you know the fire extinguisher behind the glass. The glass is broken. The glass is broken. The fire extinguisher's out.
We don't care.
It's already out.
Yeah. So you're telling me, all right, you guys are going to put a stream on with 108 hours of content, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to do it between metagame and LCS. So we're just going to be watching Melee for 10 straight days, and we won't be able to do anything else. If people tell us to do something,
we can just soak into our sofa or whatever, our gaming chair, our beds. We could just become like mold. We could just live without any active processing happening.
So just to whet my appetite, can you tell me any of the things?
WHET, right? He just dropped it.
Can you tell me a sprinkle of any of the things that would be a part of this 108 hours of content that you guys are planning?
Yeah, I mean, we're working with a bunch of community podcasts. We're working with Austin Melee, the 6'4", Melee Stats, the Scar and Toph Show, Mix Up, and of course, Melee on Me. We'll be wrapping up the week.
Did you just say the Scar and Toph Show?
I did.
He did.
Oh, shit.
No.
Did you give...
Oh, is that you guys? Is that you two? Are you guys the Scar and Toph? Oh, my God. Am I on with the Scar and Toph Show host? Holy shit.
Matt.
That was an honor.
I feel like I just want to roast Matt because I've known Matt for so long. Matt was this shitty Falco in New England that would just mess up back in the day. When did we first meet, dude? When did we first meet?
Same with 2008 or something, dude. Some Mass Madness, I think. I don't know,
on the East Coast, you guys don't even realize. These guys were like the fish, man. I would just roll into their region. Get out of here, dude.
Hey, man. I think one time I hit you with 2 smashes in a row in a combo. So
it's true, and I feared you from that day on. To be honest, like my whole mental image of you changed after that day. I was like, damn, dude, I'll watch out for Matt.Zeb. That fool's not playing around anymore.
That might have actually been the birth.
We just had Samox on, so I would just recommend, Chad, if you haven't already, watch the Blur episode, and that's all I need to say. Just watch the Blur episode. That's all you got to do.
Did he share there's a Blur episode?
You don't know. You're in the Blur
That can't
episode.
be true.
You're both in the Blur episode.
Can't be true. Can't be true.
All right. So other content that we're going to have.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing an EU invitational tournament. 8 players will be invited to that, and there'll also be an open bracket where the top 4 players get to play the bottom 4 from the invitational, and the next day, if those players will make it in, there's another 8-person bracket. We are also very, very lucky that to host the final LACS3 qualifier tournament for North America. The East Coast tournament is opening on Tuesday. You can actually go and start signing up for that now on smash.gg/5, like the number 5, DOM. And we're also doing the West Coast qualifier starts on Wednesday. On Wednesday, though, we're also going to on stream see the East Coast top 12. And on Thursday, we're going to see the West Coast top 12. And speaking of Samox, he's also going to be joining us for a segment where we'll be reacting to metagame clips, not full episodes, but clips with a couch of excellent talent.
Oh my God.
We are also planning game shows. This is going to be very exciting. We've got Jeopardy, Melee and Air. Who wants to be a Melee and Air?
Melee and Air.
Melee and Air, dude. Melee Stats team and Dr. Z have been cranking at that. Yeah, it's just a ton of stuff, man. I'm so excited. There's a lot more.
So he just mentioned a link, and I want to repeat it. Smash.gg/DOM. I recommend everyone
five DOM. I think DOM works too, actually. DOM might work as well, actually.
5 DOM. It does work.
Let me try that.
I just did it.
They both work?
No, DOM doesn't.
Smash.gg/5.
5 DOM.
Number 5
days
DOM.
ago.
And what I didn't know is that the schedule to this thing is already out, so we can actually just straight up talk about the content that's going to be a part of this.
But, there's
how
big
insane
piece,
it is.
though. Before we talk about the schedule and all of the content within it, what I'd really like to talk about is that we're also working with Direct Relief. Direct Relief is a humanitarian aid organization. They're active in more than 80 countries in all of the states. Their mission statement is to improve the health and lives of people affected by poverty or emergencies. They've been responding to many disasters like Hurricane Harvey, Maria, the California wildfires, and the Australian brush fires. As far as COVID, we're directly donating to their COVID response. Direct Relief has donated millions of N95 surgical masks, gloves, face shields, and other items to help safeguard and protect our health workers. And they have provided $36 million in financial support to health facilities responding to the pandemic this year. So we're very excited to be working with them on this project.
It's crazy. Nintendo messes with us, and all we ever want to do is give to charity. Every time they do something to us, we're like, you know what? Let's just run something for charity. And so Direct Relief, that's badass. So I'm just going to list some stuff that I see on this webpage. It's for the people who aren't on it, because you need to look at this thing. There is going to be a European tournament, European series. There's going to be a North American tournament. There's a bunch of game show content. There is podcast content that's on this. There's speed running stuff. We're going to do some Mafia. We're going to do some Among Us. We're going to have show matches for both PM and Melee. There's going to be some pros versus Joes. Remember, like Smash the Record? I think it's something like that. There's panels, community panels, some feature content, some CLG is doing a training day. So there's like, they're coming in and helping out. Like also Melee's making some content. Basically, there's something to watch. There's Smash.
Blur's just repeated. Blur's doing the name dropping that you did earlier, except he's doing it way slower.
And that's
I'm doing it.
I love that we just went full circle. I just love that we went full circle.
Bobby, it's worth repeating.
That's also not to mention all the smaller content. That's not to mention all of the smaller content that's going to be in here. We have tons of short form content that's going to be sprinkled throughout the entire broadcast. Some that's already public, some that is being created originally for this broadcast, for this program.
I just want to geek out about, I mean, obviously people can't see it, but like the schedule doc, like the master spreadsheet that we have is actually so beautiful. It's like so there's so much shit in here. There's so many tabs. It's color coded out of its skull. No, it's actually insane. There's so much stuff that's going to be happening. The people coming together to make this happen. And I mean, I think the most exciting part is how it kind of ties. Here's my perfect kind of vision for, my perfect world for this is like, you got the metagame doc dropping this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, flowing into this week of Melee, 5 days of Melee, through the week, and then boom, at the very end of it, LACS 3. And like, how sick would that be, you know, with kind of the people who are going to be exposed to the doc, and how much hype it's going to generate to have all of this, you know, through the week sustained into what is essentially going to be our next, you know, essential super major, with how much, you know, people are, with all the top players that are going to be entering LACS 3. I think it's just like the best thing. It's really like a best case. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm incredibly excited. And honestly, I mean, you know, I was inspired watching both the two of you, Toph and Scar, join in with Ludwig on the Thursday that this was announced. You know, you had both gotten onto his stream. Toph, you had the godlike timing on calling Scar as soon as he got live.
That really
serendipity,
happened,
man.
by the way. Serendipity,
man.
really happened. You were just saying, be there.
And the two of you talked about, you know, what this means as a community, what we can be doing, and in particular, really thinking of that, you know, this is where we begin to rally. You know, and one of the really big things that when we did this 7 years ago, we had a hub. We had a consistent place for people to go to for Melee, for content, for people. And, you know, that's something I wanted to try to find a way to provide. And that's, you know, I kind of started sitting on that for a bit, and just eventually took like a Saturday evening and went through this whole thing to think of, you know, blue skies, like what's, you know, if we did a 5-day just straight on broadcast, how do we do it? What would it look like?
You know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do? This is appropriate because Blur and Toph are here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring you, I'm going to start talking about you at Twitch, dude. I'm going to make people interview you. Listen, there's a person out there who's a Twitch user who had to sit down and think about how you have 5 days of stream schedule. This is how much work it takes. But there's people who exist who will do it.
Well, you know, the crazy thing. So, you know, I originally kind of brought this around to a few people, and I'm like, am I being insane? You know, Raging Cherry and Juna from Melee Every Day in particular, as well as Patty from Austin Melee. I had brought this up to them. I'm like, am I crazy, guys? Like, is this doable? And they're like, well, it's 3 weeks away. And so, you know, but I kind of sat on it for that week. And this past weekend, this project really has only been moving for 7 days. Can you believe that? With all of that we have,
that's crazy.
This has been moving for 7 days. We've been actively filling these content blocks. Ipengu has been crushing it as the talent director here. Walt, he works with Turn Down for Walt. He was one of the most integral people in making this happen. He is our content director. And Juna is our broadcast lead. And it's just insane to me that literally last Sunday, it's me, Juna, and Walt talking about this, saying, you know, like, well, what might we want to do? And now we have 86 some people here. We've got thousands of people in the chat right now getting excited for this, and however many elsewhere. And we just have this whole team that's executing on it just out of pure passion for this community and to put something out there into the good of the world under the name of this game. And I absolutely just love that. It's so inspiring that people would just come together and do it just to do it, just to jam on it as a group and have fun and just put something out that we can all enjoy.
To pull back the curtain a little bit, literally, I know Matt, and like basically the Big House news came down, and you know you can't tell right there, but the guy's got some fire in him. Every Melee player deep down, if you're a competitor, you've got some fire built up in your chest where when this stuff comes around. And so Nintendo comes down, and we're like, you know what? They're coming at us. They're coming at us.
We'll see you and we'll raise you. We'll see you and we'll raise you, homie.
And it's like part of the community spirit to just be like, okay, you do that, we're gonna go bigger, we're gonna go better. It's the never say die stuff that's so sick. And what's crazy is, so he's like, okay, this is an idea. This is kind of crazy. 100 and some odd hours of content, and I'm gonna put together in 3 weeks. Who does that? No one does that. You know, you get big companies, they can't put this stuff together in time. But then out of the woodwork, all the little Melee, you know, passion people, you know, they all come out.
Zerg.
The Waltz of the world, the Zerg, dude.
Zerg, dude.
And they coalesce around Matt, and we have it. We're about to make this big project happen.
Matt's a broodlord right now, dude. He's like the big flying thing. He's shooting out those little broodlings. all the 5 days of content's coming out the broodlings.
And I don't know. I just think it's crazy. That's crazy. Like the worst thing they can ever do to us is get us a little pissed off. You know?
We're good at taking a hit and coming back and getting better. We're good at losing. Every Melee player is good at losing. We've all gotten our ass whipped to get better. That's like the only way to get better at Melee is to get your ass whipped.
It's true.
That's true.
So we're ready to go,
double
dude.
jump into a lot of aerials, man. Just double jump into every aerial for like 2 years.
Let's go. Yeah, man.
But
yeah,
it's
it makes me feel super good, dude. I'm so proud of the community. And you know what else is crazy? I know that we're pretty much at time. Next up is going to be the 6-4 podcast. Top players are creating podcast style content. That to me is like a big deal. Toph and I have struggled to fucking book some top players and have them do something other than play the game because you know the content's good. We've got 3 of them doing a podcast. That's exciting. I feel like, you know,
so
as we get older,
I know that we're running up on time. Before we break too, I'd like to give a couple extra shout outs as well for this project because again, there's just so many people involved.
Please do.
So we're also working with Melee authors to do readings from their books, multiple like short 3 to 5 minute passages throughout the broadcast. Working with Spoopy and Nicole and their Melee is Broken book. We're going to be doing readings from Wife's book, Team Ben, A Year as a Professional Gamer. Edwin had written a book, the Book of Melee, and Jim Jam Flim Flam had written The Inner Game of Smash Bros. Melee, How to Beat Your Friends at Tennis, Have Fun, and Win Friends and Influence People. So we'll be doing readings from all of those spread throughout the broadcast. It's just crazy. And we're also working, and I also want to give credit to the trailer folks, the people who really made that happen. Radar, he was on top of all the sound design. JDMH was on top of the 2D graphics. Bobak and Rami both worked on graphics in general. And we had Vancity Primal work with the 2D animation in that. So that was a 5-person effort on that trailer, and they just churned it out. Like I'll be honest, we didn't have a logo until Friday.
I was gonna say, I opened up the Smashy. I was like, oh, this is great. This is really nice looking, actually.
Yeah.
It is.
Holiday cheer.
The whole thing, it just started really tying itself together. And but everybody's really been cranking on this for the last couple of days, and I just love it. I'm just elated that we were able to bring this into the world. And I mean, we're not out of the woods. We're not done with it.
You're right.
We still have a whole week now to continue working on this thing. And I mean, I just can't wait. Also,
if there's one thing I can tell you is talent, representing the talent side of things. When there is a beautiful spreadsheet, usually things come together. Let me tell you.
Yes. Without a beautiful spreadsheet, you're in no man's land.
That's the first place it starts.
Also, this will be streamed on the BTS channel, and all ad revenue gained during that, because we do have to run ads, it's part of the agreement. All ad revenue during it is going to be split between going to direct relief and also to the budget, just to help us pay the people working on this project as well. So shout outs to BTS for doing that.
So the more you watch, the more you support the people who put their time and passion into making this happen. Hey, Matt, thank you so much for this and for all the other things that you've done through your legendary storied career as a Melee community leader and creator. We're about out of time here. It's been my pleasure to be here. Y'all know I've been kind of under a rock, so thank you to Joe Guy for everything, for creating Big House, a tournament with so much legacy, and kind of giving us a really amazing reason to be here today. Thanks to everybody for watching. Any last words, Blur, Toph? Heaven forbid Blur gets some last words, because we can be here for 20 more minutes. I don't even know what I'm doing here.
No, it's been Melee Week, and also just like Squid House, everyone who came from the Endgame TV stream again. If there's one thing that I've kind of just taken away from the past couple days, it's like, damn, we can move fast when we really need to.
Bobby, you're right. I'm going to have last word. And what I want to say is a little bit on the lines of what I was telling Travis before he signed off. I think that, as I get older, I'm now on the wrong side of 30, as they would call it, right? I've gotten older now.
What's the wrong side?
Well, okay, 32? Maybe the right side, whatever. I'm fucking 30 now, all right?
There we go.
So I've gotten older. And, playing a 19-year-old, quote-unquote, children's party game, you wonder why you still do it at some point. And moments like these and stories like these remind me why we're actually doing any of this. And it's because I feel like...
this is your answer.
Seriously, I actually feel like it makes me a better human being. Right?
There you go.
We're like, look, I have tendencies, everyone does, to be a little selfish, maybe even a little self-centered, even egotistical, right? But the Melee community and the soul that it represents is separate from that. And it teaches me every day to be a little more selfless. And it teaches me every day that there's sometimes something bigger than myself. And it helps keep, I think, that spirit and what it does, I think, is like actually what I'm trying to be in life and actually what I want to be and bring to the world. So what better way to do it than be a part of the community that does it the best, right? And so I'm really proud of you, Matt. I'm really proud of you, Matt. I'm really proud of Samox. I'm really proud of Spoopy.
Shout out to Matt.Zeb. Shout out to Samex. Shout out to Smash GG and Ogle. Thank you for coming on. Shout out to Spoopy and Nikki, to Sheridan, to Joe Guy, to yourself, Blur, Matt.Zeb, Toph. God, round of applause for Toph. And we'll see you.
Yeah, and Mango Leffen and Zane. as they're going to be.
Mango Leffen and Zane.
We're going to kick it over to that. So yeah.
Thank you all for being goddamn inspiration.
Thank you, Bobby. Shout out to you, dude.
5 days of Smash documentary. 5 days of Melee coming up. Peace.
Peace.